Hello, this is Mira from easyhouseplants and welcome to my channel. Today I wanted to talk about a plant that I find very fascinating, and no, it's not these two orchids that I rebloomed myself. You may congratulate me, and I understand why one might think this video is about orchids, but actually no, I just wanted a nice setup, as nice goes on this channel. This video is actually about another plant, and quite to be honest with you, I am shocked that this plant hasn't become more popular before, because I think it's truly a fantastic plant that you can grow in your home. It's very easy, and I am actually very proud to say that I grew this from a small cutting, so you know. Do I hear the applause? No, because I'm alone and no one's here. But you know, oh god. This is actually a cider, so it's fine. Just bringing the class. Now, judging by the title, you obviously know what the video is about. It's about a plant that is right here in the back, if you can see. I don't know. I have no idea if you can see that. But this video is about Rhaphidophora tetrasperma. I got this plant as a 4-node unrooted cutting in November last year, and I had no idea this plant was coming to me. I just one day received a text message from the post office with a tracking number saying that I have a package coming for me, and I found that very surprising because at that time I didn't order anything, so I was a bit shocked. And there is actually a fun story to this. I took the tracking number and I went to my computer to check it online, and you know, when I entered the tracking number, I saw that the package had been sent in 2016. So 3 years prior to that moment when I checked it. So I was a bit I was slightly concerned. What is in this box that is arriving? What did I order 3 years ago and got lost? Naturally, I panicked, as one should do when they receive a text message about a package coming to them that they don't know what it is and that has been 3 years in the mail. To my surprise, there were 2 plants in there. Both of these plants had been on my wish list for quite some time. One of them is Alocasia cuprea that you saw, and we are not going to talk about that plant in this video because it's not doing so great, which is a very generous rendition of the condition of the plant. The point of the video is the cutting of Rhaphidophora tetrasperma that I received. Now, up until that moment, and actually up until recently, this plant was considered very uncommon here. Actually, you could not find it anywhere, so I was very happy to see that I have this cutting. The cutting that I received was unrooted, and it did take some time to root. I actually had to do a bit of social media stalking of myself, which is very narcissistic, to see the timeline, because I really forget things easily, especially when it comes to plants, as to when I received them, when I rooted them. I received the plant in the middle of November of 2019 without any roots, and I made a post on Instagram in December of 2019, and I can read in that post that the roots are barely starting to show up. So that's a month of this cutting sitting in distilled water and not doing pretty much anything. Fast forward to a couple of months later, it is the end of February, and I made a repotting video on this channel. And can we just take a moment to appreciate that framing? I mean, this was the frame. Most of me wasn't in the frame, so I guess we improved. Also, February 2020. That was a good time. Feels like a different time now, doesn't it? Moving on, in that video you can see that I was truly impressed by the growth of this plant because it doubled in size within 2 months. Fast forward to October of 2020, which is another great month. You can see now the plant is in the back, and actually it doesn't even fit in the frame. There is a part of the plant below that you cannot see, and there is, I think, a significant part of the plant above that you don't see. Now it is almost 2 meters in height. I will try to show you the plant somehow. I did try several different angles, nothing works. Sorry again. Whoa. Well, that's a dangerous situation right there. And that's a dangerous situation. So you can see the plant next to me. These bottom leaves, they look a bit dehydrated, and that's because I think it's definitely time to water this plant, which I will get to after this video, which is a lie. It's actually hitting the ceiling right about now. So you can see this is the bottom part of the plant, and I don't know how to approach this. Maybe I can tip it over. Maybe that's not a good idea. This plant goes on and on and on and on and on and on. So let's just, it's actually in a much smaller pot. This is just something I keep as a cover / stabilizing pot. The pot is much smaller. Oh, I cannot show you the pot. It's a smaller pot. It has this one stake that's quite unstable, so I had to put 2 additional stakes thinking that will keep the middle one in place, but it didn't work, so I put the ladder in. So this horror situation is something that I obviously created myself, and I think I will have to repot it again because it's starting to branch out in several places and they will need support. So I think maybe I will put 2 more stakes and then connect them somehow horizontally, and I'm now realizing that will look like a Rhaphidophora scarecrow. Well, not a DIY channel, that's for sure. You can see here, this is one new vine. It's coming from the node. I do see here it was 1 new growth, but I think it got squished by this pole. There is another one here. It's very, very small. There is a bigger one. So this here, that's a new vine as well. So completely new vine coming from the node. Honestly, this has been one of the easiest plants that I ever had to take care for, and I dare even say it's easier than epipremnum, which you commonly know as a pothos, which is not a pothos, so epipremnum. In my conditions, it grows much faster. It doesn't require any special conditions to grow. I would call this the queen of, or the king. Is it Rhaphidophora a king or a queen? Let's go with Rhaphidophora is the queen of beginner houseplants. Rhaphidophora tetrasperma is a part of the Rhaphidophora genus, which is in Araceae family, you know, your aroids. It actually originates in Southeast Asia, in Thailand and Malaysia, and I read that it occurs in a very small territory, so it is considered moderately rare in nature, which I truly find fascinating because I think a lot of people now have it in their homes. Most commonly you can find this plant as mini monstera. You can also find it under the name Philodendron guinea or Ginny, and I even saw Epipremnum guinea or Ginny. This plant is actually not that closely related to Monsteras, besides for being in the Araceae family, but it is closer to Monstera than it is closer to Philodendrons. But anyways, it's a Rhaphidophora, and I actually do believe I read that it is most closely related to Epipremnums. But you know, take that information with a grain of salt because I might be making stuff up at this point. Words are not working. It grows in various conditions, from dry conditions to wet. I want to say moist because that's a word that we all like. You know, in household conditions, it will not have any problem growing. I had it in several different conditions and really it doesn't stop to grow. And that's why we have that awkwardly assembled pole. I did notice that it is very important for this plant to have something to climb on. This plant rarely occurs as a terrestrial plant in nature, so it will find a host tree and climb up the host tree. And you can see on my plant that it does have these moments here where it wasn't attached to anything. I had to switch out the pole 3 times and it will fall on me at one point. But it does grow very, very vigorously. So, you know, in less than a year, I was able to grow it from a 4-node cutting to, I cannot count how many nodes are in here because it's 2 digits. So we're not gonna go there. I grow it in a mix that I think was a leftover of the mix I mixed for some aroids. I think for varicosum I mixed that and I just had some leftovers and I threw it in this pot and I just added some stuff. So it's really basically cocoa peat, a bit of general potting mix, some bark and perlite, and it does really well in that mix. Previously it had been in a very similar mix to that, maybe just a little more barky, but now there is a bit more cocoa peat and really I don't see that the plant is bothered at all. One thing that you will notice that my leaves are a bit smaller than the bottom ones. It never really put out as big leaves as those on the bottom, and those are the leaves I received it with. It was in higher light, it was in lower light, it did spend some time outside, but all I was able to get are this size. Maybe there is a leaf up here that's slightly larger, but only slightly, and nothing close to the bottom leaf. I keep mine slightly on the dry side. I never really had any issues with overwatering this plant. I do see that some people do have this issue, and generally I am not a person who will overwater his plants. I'm just underwatering monster, and I do tend to put in more bark and perlite in my mixes, so I think that, well, in my case, it doesn't help. It's actually quite opposite, but I think if you just put more perlite, it should help you if you're one of those people who like to give too much love to your plant, which is just a nice way to say you are an overwaterer. As I mentioned, this plant did grow in several different conditions. It was directly under my LED light when it was a small cutting and when that was possible. After that, I had to move it next to the shelf, and it only got residual light from the LED, and it still grew really well. Then I moved it outside, and I do have to say I wasn't really able to find a shady spot outside, so on a couple of those bottom leaves you can see some sunburn. When I noticed that I really cannot find a shady location outside, I decided to move it back in, and I put it in my northwest facing window, and it did grow there for a couple of months before the summer was over and before it outgrew that spot as well. So I had to repot it, and I moved it again next to my shelf where I have some epipremnums. I would consider that a low light location. It's between two of my northwest facing windows because there is a slight narrow wall between, but I do have a lot of LED lights and a lot of residual light is coming to that place, so I would still consider it a low light, but it's definitely not no light, so it does still get a decent amount of light, and it is continuing to grow. And as I previously mentioned, it is branching out. I never had any issues with pests. The leaves are thinner than your monstera, because this is not a monstera, so they are thinner, and they will be susceptible to thrips, to spider mites, and I actually had spider mites in this plant, but it wasn't very affected. You know, I didn't notice them right away, but the plant kept growing. It didn't really care. Mites were very easy for me to get rid of on this plant. I just used a 1.7% solution of paraffin oil with water. So I think that's 1.7 milliliters of paraffin oil to 100 milliliters of water, and you just add some dish soap there and you're ready to go. You can spray the plant, and it really took well to that treatment, but of course, neem oil will work. I think any type of mineral oil I think should work. Really is not that difficult to get rid of spider mites on this plant because it is very resilient, and you know, it's not very likely that this plant will get stressed and invite spider mites like your calatheas, you know. A big question that comes up with this plant is it tissue cultured or not? And I honestly do not care. My plant is tissue cultured. Why does that matter to some people? I will never understand. Some people will make an argument that the plant that is not tissue cultured will have slightly different leaf shape. Again, this is a characteristic of this plant, really. It is a heterophilous plant, so the leaves, the shape will alternate in one plant. I really don't think it matters so much if it's tissue cultured or not. I'm glad this plant is widely available now, and you know, more people can have it. If the price of tissue culture is slightly different leaf shape, I really don't care. I did see an interesting thing that a 4-leaf cutting, I think in New Zealand, was auctioned off for $7,000 or $8,000, and it was a variegated Rhaphidophora tetrasperma. Now, when I was looking into this plant, I did come across a very interesting information. Now, I'm not a biologist, I'm just a regular person who likes to read about plants and bring that information to you so you don't have to read. But if you want, I will leave a link down below so you can go and check out this information. I was reading one night Steve Lucas's website, exoticrainforest.com, and which is a good place to just read on aroids. There is an article about Rhaphidophora tetrasperma, but there is one particular segment that is very interesting, and it is in relation to the variegation on this plant. Now, he contacted Peter Boyce, who is also an aroid expert in Southeast Asia, and he says that variegation in Rhaphidophora tetrasperma is not naturally occurring, if I understood that correctly. Maybe I'm wrong, or maybe the plants that are being sold, the pattern doesn't look very natural. He proposed those variegated plants that are being sold are tissue cultured plants that have been induced with a benign color-breaking virus. Now, I have no idea if this is true or not, but I think this information sounds very interesting to me. So if you want, you can, I will leave the link down below. You can read more about this, or don't. Again, I don't claim this is the case, but I find this information very interesting to read. To me, honestly, I saw those variegated plants being sold online, not here, for really a lot of money. And, well, all I can say, I prefer the green version. I don't always go for variegated plants. There are a couple of cases where I will like the variegated plant a lot, but not in all cases. As a matter of fact, in many cases, I will not like the variegation. So that would be all for today. Thank you all for joining me for this video. I hope that you enjoyed it, and I hope that maybe I got some of you to like or buy Rhaphidophora tetrasperma. Let me down in the comments below how many of you own this plant. How is it growing for you? I'm interested to hear. I really think this is an excellent plant for a beginner, and for, some people are just worried that they will kill a plant, so instead, they buy those plastic house plants, and I really hope we all dislike them. So if you think you are a plant serial killer, why don't you try it with Rhaphidophora tetrasperma? Really, I don't think it's very easy to kill this plant, so unless you overwater. In that case, I will have to find a plant that is impossible to overwater. If you have any questions about Rhaphidophora tetrasperma or issues with your Rhaphidophora, you can leave a comment below, or if you just want to leave a nice comment, you can also do that. If you liked the video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. If you are not already subscribed and you're watching the videos, hi, what's up? Please? Just kidding, you all have a free choice, of course, but if you want, you can also subscribe to the channel, and it really does mean a lot to me. And you can also turn on the notification bell, because we all love to get notifications. They're super cool. That's just a lie. Notifications are very annoying. If you also, by your own free will, want to support me on Patreon, you can find the link in the description below. Once again, I hope you're all having a wonderful day, and I will return soon with a Hoya video, because I have some things that I need to do with one of my Hoyas, and it will be a messy video, I think. I hope you're all having a wonderful day, and see you in the comments, I guess. Bye! A big shout out to my $5 patrons, the Queen Begonia, Betsy Begonia, my wonderful friends, Melissa Walker, Kathy L, and Morel Gardenhouse, and one more patron, and you know who you are. Thank you so much. I also want to thank my $3 patron, Becca Penyard, and I got that last name correctly, and also one more $1 patron, Nikki. Thank you all so much, and I hope that you are enjoying the videos and that you like them. Now it's really time to end the video and finish the cider. It's a big task, so bye!